Morning. Good morning, my lovely Pilates friends. Oh, it looks like you've got the messages okay, which is great. We thought we'd try a bit of YouTube today, mostly because there's quite a few of us in the house who are online. That's the word I'm looking for. Oh, Monday. But I'm also quite interested to see what happens because we can actually utilize some of the videos at a later date when we do it this way. So we'll see how we go with it. And I might do a couple like this and then we'll make an informed decision maybe sometime in January. So we've got the mat here. I've got a little towel just to support the back of my head. I've got a band, but don't worry if you haven't got one. And the way we're going to do it, we're going to try and do about 30 minutes, maybe a little bit longer. Working all the muscles, going through all the different sort of postures, sideways, on your front, on your back. And then what I'll do is actually let you know when we've come to the end of that first section. And then the next part of it is going to be just a little bit more challenging. So for those of you who are coming through injury or it's a new thing to you, what I'd recommend is we just do the first part. And as you gradually build your resilience and build your strength, and you know that the next day you're not in agony because of it, then we can just gradually start to up the challenges a bit. So that's the plan for today. So we're going to warm up standing up. And what I'm going to get you, you can warm up on your mat, you can warm up on the floor. What I am going to get you to do is really think about this standing warm up in terms of how we are in day-to-day life. So one of the reasons I like a standing warm up is you can take this away with you into what you're doing day to day. So that think about the shoulders just relaxing, trying to avoid sort of standing up really nice and tall. Don't avoid standing up really nice and tall. Or, if we tend to be a bottom sticker outer and a tummy relaxer, just starting to even those things out when we're just walking around doing our household stuff. So we're going to start by just finding that comfortable position where those feet are not too wide, not too narrow, about hip width apart. And what we're going to be aware of is how we stand with these feet day to day. So if you tend to stand very much outward turning, quite often these muscles here are very, very tight. So it's not that I want you to sort of suddenly change to standing like this. It's about being aware of where that muscle tightness is. So we're just going to try and get those feet as parallel as possible. So as close to 12 o'clock as we feel able, but not so that's really uncomfortable. So you may have to turn them out or in a little bit, but just as close to that as you feel you're able. And then when we're there, we're just going to think about almost opening up the space between each little segment of this spine. So we're going to stand tall. One of my favourite analogies, and some of you will remember this and have heard me say it over and over, but is imagining we had this helium balloon attached to the crown of the head. Okay, it's not to the back or the front of the head, right in the middle. And it's attached to that head by a piece of string. And as it floats up, it's gently drawing that head upwards. But we're keeping that chin parallel to the floor. So at the same time, imagining you're looking out on that seafront out onto the horizon. So we're really lengthening through the spine, but we're not sort of doing this or doing this. Okay, that neck is totally relaxed and the shoulders are totally relaxed. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to take a little breath in, and as we do that, we're going to squeeze the shoulders up to the ears. And as we breathe out, we're just going to let those shoulders relax away from the ears. So this breathing is pretty important in Pilates, only in that it's going to dictate your movement. So you don't have to do things at the same time as me. Once we've set up the move, you're going to listen into your own body, into your own breathing patterns, and you're going to move in rhythm with those. So we're going to take that breath in. And as you breathe out, just allow those shoulders to fall away from the ears. Just allow them to fall away from the ears. And then we're going to see if we can just take those feet a little bit wider than normal, because we're just going to do a little spine swing to warm up. Now, be really careful if you've got any pain. So you want to make this movement really small. And you'll notice that my opposite heel is coming away from the floor. So you might need to exaggerate that a bit more. But if you're feeling comfortable with it, don't do it if you're not comfortable with it. We're just going to warm up that spine a little bit. We still got that nice long spine. Just gently turning those hips, gently turning that body, and then we're just going to bring it back to center. And then we're going to bring those feet in a little bit, and we're just going to start with almost some little circles with these hands, only chest level. And we're going to make these circles just a little bit bigger. So just warming the shoulders up a little bit before we go into the full warm up. Good. Little bit bigger, little bit bigger. And then we're just going to bring those arms down. And again, we're just going to relax the shoulders. So we're going to imagine now this bucket of water in your pelvis. So my bucket of water is full, and I'm going to see if I can tip some water by tilting my pelvis out to the front of my bucket. And then I'm going to just come back so it's flat. Then I'm going to tip some water out of the back of the bucket. And you'll notice what happens with the lower back here. As I'm tipping water out of the front of the bucket, you get almost an arch of the back. As you come back to that flat position, there's a natural curve. And as you tip water out of the back of the bucket, we flatten off that back. So this natural curve is what we call our neutral spine. And we're just going to make those tipping movements smaller and smaller till we arrive at that midpoint where the water is flat and we arrive at our neutral spine. So it'll be important you find that when we're on the floor. Now we're going to relax those arms again. We're just going to imagine you had a really thick belt just covering the belly button and all the way down to the pubic bone. Okay, and it's coming around here. And its job is just to keep everything in place. So we're going to tighten that belt just a couple of notches. So not as hard as you can, not 100%. So try tightening at 100%. How long would you be able to hold that for? Exactly. So now loosen it off to 50% and maybe to about 30% of your maximum. So we talk about belt notch 3 rather than belt notch 10. Now, hold it at belt notch 3. Relax those shoulders. We're going to lift that rib cage out of the hips. We're going to breathe out. We're going to breathe in to return. So what we're doing here, there's no movement apart from in that lower back. And we're warming up the lower back. So we have that long spine. Remember that helium balloon. Imagine it drawing you up to the ceiling each time you come back to center. We're just breathing out as we move away from center, and all your movements are in time with your own breathing. So we're breathing out, nice relaxed shoulders, lengthening through the spine, breathing in. Let's just take one more this side. We're going to come all the way back up to center. And then we're just going to see if we can lift these heels off the floor. Now, you may find that really challenging. So if you do, just take your weight into the ball of the foot and then into the heels. Okay, into the ball of the foot and the heels. But if you can, we're just going to gently lift and we're going to breathe in and we're going to breathe out. Or moving away from the start position, we can breathe out and we can breathe in. So it doesn't really matter at this stage. We've got that belt tightened, shoulders are soft, we're looking out onto the horizon, and we're just focusing on a fixed point in the distance. So these core muscles are going to really help with this balance. So we're going to take one more, lift up, and then we're going to come all the way back down. Good. Now let's see if we can take this little prayer position. Now, we're going to imagine you've got headlights on your hip bones, and we're just gently, gently turning away from center, breathing out, breathing in to return. So take your awareness into that breathing, into that belt-like muscle. Good. Soften the shoulders, let them slide away from the ears. And imagine those headlights now shining on the wall in front of you. So as we gently move away from center, those headlights aren't moving at all. So it's very much movement from this part rather than a twist through the hips. Good. So we're warming up this mid part of the spine. We're going to take one more on the other side. Keep drawing that tummy button away from the waistband of your trousers. Remember that belt notch 3. Come back to center. Just going to let those arms swing a little bit. Just loosen off those feet a little bit. Okay. Everything becomes quite static and then it becomes tense. So what we're going to do next, we're going to take those feet hip width apart. We're going to see if we can just bend those knees, okay, and come back up. So we're keeping the heels on the floor. I'm not showing you very well there. You can push those hands forwards if you like. Now, I'm really limited on how far I can go down, simply because I've aggravated whatever injury I had by trying to play touch rugby with my kids yesterday. So you can see, you've just got to listen to the body, not push into pain. So if that's as far as you need to go, that's enough. Now, when we get to this point, we're going to tighten the belt and we're just going to allow this chest to fall over the thighs. So my movement is a little bit limited today, but I want this spine rounded. I want this sort of pelvis tilted so that the back is as flat as it could be. So we're tipping water out of the back of the bucket. Now let that head become floppy. And if someone pushed your arms, this is what would be happening. Tighten the belt. Now, imagine that we're stacking that spine one little segment at a time till we're coming all the way up. Now at this point, the shoulders are going to fall into place and then the chin is going to lift, okay? We're going to do 3 more of those. So we're just going to tighten that belt. Allow that chest to rest over the thighs and then just roll up through the spine. So if you had a tail, okay, if you were a dog and you had a tail, as we come down, the tail is sort of sticking towards the floor behind you. Now, what I want you to do is push that tail between your legs, all right? And all the while, that tail is pushing down between your legs, almost down towards your heels. And as you come up, that tail is hanging straight down towards your heels. Good. I'm going to do 1 more of these. Just do as many as you feel you need. If it's no good for you, this movement, or if you're not sure, don't worry about it. Just leave it out and we can talk about it, privately. We can have a little look at anything that doesn't feel right. Now, we're just going to take a little roll of these shoulders and we're going to slide them down. So we're taking the shoulders up to the ears, and then as the shoulders come down, just imagine sliding those shoulder blades down the back towards the bottom. So we're going to take that breath in. As you breathe out, slide those shoulder blades down. Good. We're going to do that 1 more time. So this is another really lovely way of opening the chest and really relaxing those shoulders. So what we're going to try and do now, tighten this belt, leading with the thumb, sliding that shoulder blade down the back towards the bottom. We're going to take this arm float. So the arm float is coming from the shoulder, not the elbow. We're looking out onto the horizon. And once we get to that point where the shoulder maybe feels that that's enough, what we tend to do normally is lift that rib cage. What we're going to do today is just tighten the belt, and when that shoulder comes to a halt, we're just going to bring it all the way back down. So we're increasing that flexibility in the shoulder joint. Then we're going to do the same on the other side. So shoulders soft, face nice and soft. That breathing is soft. And as we move away from center, we're breathing out and controlling that movement back down. So we're going to think today about flow. We're going to think about these limbs flowing rather than So the difference being is flow would be that sort of, almost as if something was assisting you. It's like swimming with the current and just allowing that current to support you back down. So when we're a bit more mechanical, it's very much okay. So think about flow today. Now we're going to see if we can take both arms and open. Now draw those shoulder blades together. Good. So we're going to open and draw the shoulder blades together. Lovely. We're going to take 1 more of these. And then we're going to bring those arms down. Now we're going to float these arms up. We're going to breathe in and we're going to breathe out. Good. Now we're going to take 1 arm up And we're going to switch. Now you're going to need to tighten that belt to stop that trunk from assisting. Okay, we're going to breathe in and we're going to breathe out. So we're holding that neutral spine. We're going to bring it down. And then we just move those feet a little bit. Lovely. Shake it out a little bit. So we're going to take it down onto the floor. What I'd like us to do before we do that is a little bit of a release swing. So this one, again, important to make sure we're tipping water out of the back of that bucket so we're not arching the back and sticking that bottom out. So we're going to see if we can take those arms up. I'm going to do it in slow motion so you can see. Okay, we're going to bend those knees. We're going to just make sure that tail is between your legs and we're just going to let those arms go. Okay, this is slow motion. Okay, so it's called our release swing. Go really easy. We can make the movement smaller and then we can build the range if it's appropriate. So this is all about releasing tension. So we're just going to breathe in as we bring those arms up and then we're going to breathe out. Good. And then we'll bring those arms down. So we're going to come to the sort of the front or the back of the mat. We're going to take those feet hip width apart. Now remember when we were doing this movement, this little roll up, it was like a half roll down. So we're going to practice our roll down. We're going to stand tall, nice and relaxed. We're going to drop that chin to the chest. We're going to tighten the belt. Tail is hanging down to the floor. We're going to lift this rib cage over an imaginary beach ball that I've placed at your feet. So we can't go straight to the feet. We're going to go lift up and over. And we're only going as far as you feel comfortable. Okay, don't look for an unpleasant stretch. Now this head is floppy, arms totally floppy. This is really hard to do. Most of us are doing this with the head. Okay, really tense, looking where we're going to go. Just let that head go. Tighten the belt. And as if we were rolling up through the spine. So imagine the spine like a set of building blocks, one little segment at a time. We're going to let those shoulders relax, slide down the back. Now let's just do it again. So we're tightening the belt, lifting that rib cage over that imaginary beach ball, only going down as far as you feel comfortable. Now, if you're a little bit worried about this, just bend the knees slightly. Okay, you can do exactly the same move. It just protects the back a little bit more. Okay, so as you come back up, we want that tail hanging down. Don't be tempted to stick that bottom out, okay? That's what we're trying to avoid. We want that. Good. And then when we've done a couple of those, we're going to bring it down onto the mat. So we can do this with straight legs. We can do this with bent legs. So I'm going to do this with bent legs. I'm going to go as far as I feel comfortable. Then I'm going to bend my legs a little bit more. And I'm going to walk myself out into a kneeling position on this mat. Now, once we're there, I'm going to get you to do just a few cat stretches. Okay. I'm going to move the camera so that you'll at least be able to see me. Okay, or I'll be able to see you. So I'm going to bring it down a little bit. We practiced this earlier. I think we're okay. Good. So here we go. If it's no good, I'll have a little play with it in a bit. Lovely. Okay. So we're in that cat stretch position. So remember, when we're in that kneeling position, we want those knees directly underneath the hips, the hands directly under the shoulders. Now, these shoulders tend to go into this position. So we're going to make sure that we straighten through the arms, lift this chest, draw those shoulder blades down the back towards the bottom. And you can also have a little play with that bucket of water position as well, just moving the hips. Now, when we've done our last cat stretch, okay, we're just going to see if we can sit back onto those heels, slide these elbows behind the knees. Good. And then we're going to really breathe out, relax. So if we can, we're going to be breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth, but we're not going to worry too much about the breathing. The movement is a little bit more important. Now, let's come into this prone position. Let's come into this prone position. We're just going to find that position where, when we're working, that neck is totally long and lengthened. So sometimes we find it's a bit like this. Sometimes we find there's a really exaggerated curve. So this is where the towel or a piece of clothing really comes in useful. And once we're there, we're going to just practice that bucket of water movement, because you'd assume that you or instantly fall into neutral spine in this position, but sometimes we just let that tummy sink into the mat and we're actually in an arch back position here as well. So have a little play, relax these shoulders away from the ears, and then when you think, yeah, I think that's about right, just see if you can draw your tummy button away from the mat. So you're lying face down, looking straight down. You've got that beautiful alignment, head, neck and spine and tailbone, and you're just practicing that abdominal bracing using that belt-like muscle. You're using that belt-like muscle. So something to aid that, you're going to imagine that this mat is an ice block. You're lying on the ice block, and we're just going to stop the ice from freezing that belly button. So we're going to draw that belly button and those lower abdominals away from the mat without tensing your bottom. Okay, so once we've done that, we're going to relax these shoulders. We're going to go into swimming legs. So we're going to see if we can take the left leg. We're going to squeeze this bottom muscle and we're going to lengthen. We're going to lower. Good. So we're going to squeeze and we're going to lower. So I'm very much limiting my movements today. I can still feel these muscles working, but I'm having to be a little bit careful. But everyone will have a different range. So as long as you can feel these muscles working and that this hip bone is in contact with the mat, you'll be okay. Now we're going to do 8 on this side. We're going to release and we're going to do 8 on the other side. So we're squeezing and remembering that flow. So we're breathing out, we're breathing in. Good. It's almost as if there's no beginning, no end. So as that leg lengthens away from the floor, we're breathing out, breathing in. And as soon as it reaches the bottom of the movement, it comes back up. So it's almost a cycle of movement. And then when we've done 8 on that side, we're going to release and we're just going to think about gently, okay, relaxing the shoulders, relaxing that bottom, tightening the belt, and we're going to just squeeze those forearms away from the mat, away from the floor, draw the shoulder blades together. We're going to release. So we're going to breathe out. So we're now working the upper back muscles. So this is part of what I call the swan dive. And we're working these muscles around the scapula. We're working the core muscles because basically the lower back muscles want to take over at this point. So we want this to relax, core muscles to be nice and strong, and we're going to squeeze and we're going to bring it down. So you'll feel that movement in and around the scapula. Keep drawing that tummy button away from the mat. And then we're just going to do 1 or 2 more. If you feel comfortable, stop if you don't. We're going to release. And then we're going to see if we can tighten these bottom muscles. Draw the tummy button away from the mat. We're going to lift that chest just a fraction away from the mat. So we're using our lower back muscles now. We're using the bottom muscles, pushing those toes away from you and breathing in to return down. So we're lifting the breastbone, working the lower back muscles if you can, and relaxing the shoulders, relaxing those shoulder blades, drawing that belly button away from the mat. And we're just going to take a few more of these. So today we're doing between about 8 and 15 repetitions on each of the moves. So if you're fairly new to this, we want you to just do a few, maybe 8. If 8 is too many, we can just bring the number down. And if you've been doing this a while, we can do a few more. Good. Or we can make it a little bit more challenging. Now we're going to bring that chest down, relax the shoulders, bring these hands behind you. You can tuck your toes under if you want, but we're just going to come into that child's pose position. Now tilt that pelvis. Just gently push that imaginary tail between your knees. It's quite hard work to think of the imaginary tail. And then we're going to release. Good. So from this child's pose position, we are going to just bring those knees together and we're going to come into a sitting position. We're going to come onto our backs now. My mat has decided to shifty around. Okay, so we're going to, again, make sure those feet are hip width apart. Feet as close to 12 o'clock as possible. And in this sitting position, we're going to see if we can just tilt that pelvis, push that tail between your legs, and we're just going to feed ourselves down into this lying down position. So I have got my heels just at about a 90-degree angle. There's about a 90-degree angle at the knee, maybe slightly smaller if you want to work the glute muscles, slightly further away if you want to work the hamstrings a little bit more. So we are going to see if we can relax the shoulders, tighten that belt, take that little pelvic tilt. And when we come to our neutral spine, relax the arms down by the side. Let those shoulder blades melt into the mat. Now we're looking up towards the ceiling. So don't worry, you can look at the screen if you need to and then look up. So what we're going to practice is coming into that bridge position. So we're going to tilt that pelvis, squeeze the bottom. We're going to peel that spine away from the mat. And then we're going to breathe in at the top. Now at the top, we are looking for those knees to be pointing straight up to the ceiling. If these knees tend to want to go in or push out, okay, it has a little impact on what's going on here. So try and keep those knees, hips, shoulders in line. Now, it may take you a few goes to come all the way up to your full range. So don't be tempted to go, bam, straight into it. We're using that breathing, keeping that belt-like muscle at 3 or 4, and we're just gently peeling that spine away from the mat as we come into that bridge position. So we can just pause at the top to make it a little bit more challenging. And then on that way back down, again, we're going to breathe out and we're going to start with the top of that spine and we're going to press each little segment one at a time down into the mat. Good. So really take your awareness into those shoulders, into those core muscles. Remember, sometimes we put a spirit level over our hip bones. So it's right there now. See if you can keep that red dot in the middle. So these hips are square on. Good. Now, when we get to the top, we're going to see if we can hold it. I'm going to just light a little campfire underneath your bottom. And if you feel that lower back starting to ache, I want you to come down and bring the knees to the chest. Now we're going to see if we can float these arms, thumbs leading, just like we did in the warm-up. We're going to breathe out. We're going to breathe in. Now squeeze that bottom. We're going to breathe out. And we're going to breathe in. Really remember that campfire is burning your bottom. So you've got to squeeze it up away from the fire. So in time with your breathing, we're going to take these arm floats. And if you feel comfortable, we're going to challenge the core muscles with this scissor switch with the arms. Outward breath, in. Now we can come down whenever you feel comfortable. If you want to do a couple more, you can. I'm going to just come back down onto that mat. And then I'm going to bring one knee and the other knee into my chest. I'm just going to hug those knees in. So we were working, you could feel it, the glutes, the hamstrings, but we were giving these muscles in the trunk a real lesson in stability. Good. And the core muscles, their main role is to stabilize the skeleton while we're moving around. So this is why we need to move the arms and legs to destabilize and hopefully stabilize with the core muscles. And the more we get to do it here, the better they'll be able to do it in day-to-day life.
Now, what we're going to see if we can do is just take one foot down. Okay, you can straighten that leg if you feel comfortable, or if you want just a bit of security, leave it there. We're going to gently, gently draw that knee towards the opposite shoulder. So either with that knee in support or that leg straight, just make sure you're not arching that back. Now, nice and easy does it. Don't overdo it with the stretch. Okay, so what we're doing is just stretching some of the gluteals. Okay, a little bit of piriformis as well. And then we're going to bring that down. We're going to do the same on the other side. So again, it's not how far you can stretch. Just listen to that body and just take it to that point of tension without pain. So we tend to wham it straight into the pain if we've got an injury. And what we want to do is just come to that point where we're stretching, but it's not detrimental. Okay, all about pace. And then we're going to bring it back, bring this knee up, come down. Fab. Okay, how about a bit of core abdominal work? Yes, I hear you say yes. Okay, so find that neutral spine. So remember that bucket of water. Remember how that lower back felt. So if we have that big gap between the back and the floor, we're going to put a lot of pressure on that lower back, and we don't want that. So if in doubt, if you're really not sure, the back closer to the mat is better than the mat further up. Better than the back further away from the mat. I got there in the end. All right then. So we're going to have a little play with it, and then we're going to really draw those hip bones together. That's my other way of saying tighten that belt, okay? Now we're going to see if we can challenge those core muscles by bringing one leg into tabletop. So that knee is directly over the hip. We have a little glass of water balanced on that shin. So we have a 90-degree angle at the knee here. Now, some of you are going to be working with one leg in tabletop. Some of you are going to have two legs in tabletop. This is more challenging. And if you are going to work like this, make sure that lower back isn't arching and that we're controlling the movement. Now, I'm going to take one leg down, so I'm in single leg. We're going to start with the left leg, just what I call toe dip. So see that 90-degree angle at the knee. What we're doing is holding that angle, and I want you to imagine we're sunbathing. Chuds would be a fine thing. And we're just next to this lovely swimming pool in the Algarve, and we're just going to see what sort of temperature the water is. So we're just dipping our toe. It doesn't feel quite warm enough yet. So we're just going to bring that leg straight back up. So as we're coming down, notice we're holding that 90-degree angle and we're breathing in to come back up. So when we've done 8 on the left, okay, if we're in double leg tabletop, it's going to look like this, okay? And then we're going to take that leg down with control. We're going to bring the right leg up with control. And this is what it looks like, single leg. Brilliant. We're going to do another 8. So if you find that the hip clunks a little bit, okay, just make sure you're wearing a line to start off with that hip, but also maybe you wouldn't want to take it too far down. So we're just keeping the shoulders relaxed, breathing out, breathing in. Really, as this knee comes away from center, this is when it's going to be most challenging. Be aware of that back. Good. And then back. Sometimes the slower we do this, the more challenging it is. So if you're thinking, oh, this is fine, sometimes there's a little bit of momentum there. Okay, I'm not saying it's wrong to go faster, but try it slower. And then we're going to bring those knees into the chest. I think there's room for everything. Bit of pace, bit of slowing it down. Good. Now this time we're going to just roll like a ball. So it's as if that lower part of your back is a beach ball, and I'm just rolling you up and down, and we're just massaging that lower back into the mat. You can see my head's nice and relaxed, shoulders nice and relaxed. And then we're going to just relax ourselves. We're going to take these feet down. We're going to take those feet together, knees together. So these are our hip rolls. These arms are here just to support you. So we're going to allow those shoulder blades to melt into the mat, tighten that belt, and we're going to let those knees fall away from center. So we don't have to force those knees too far. This is more about just allowing the spine to relax, to loosen up. So if we push too far, you'll find everything tenses. So as soon as we push too far, the body has its own mechanism really to tense up. So to relax, we just need to start small and gently, gently build only as far as our body says that's enough. And you can guarantee if something starts to tense, it doesn't like it. So just bring it back. Okay, either make it smaller, or it may just be that the move's not right for you now. You can see my head is gently moving in opposite directions. We're breathing out as we move away from center, breathing into return. I could do this all day. I probably do most of the time. All right, then we're going to come back to center. We're going to do a little bit more abdominal work. So I was doing this one this morning. I was just running through what I wanted to do with you, and I can't quite remember what I was thinking. So, yeah, I've got it. So we're going to find that neutral spine again. Tighten this belt. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to see if we can bring that tabletop position. So if we're working one leg in tabletop, this is what it's going to look like. Two legs, this is what it's going to look like. So I'm going to start with one leg. And again, that left leg, this time we're going to straighten out that angle at the knee. And we're going to push that ankle away from center. And we're going to breathe into return. Now, what you might find is that the higher the legs, slightly less challenging on that lower back as you lengthen away. The lower that foot is, the more that back will want to arch, the more the pelvis will want to tilt so that back is arched away from the mat. It wants to do that to aid the movement. But we want the stomach muscles to work, not the joints to move. So we are going to really draw this tummy button in. We're breathing out as that leg comes away from center, breathing in. I used to say sort of reach for the wall with your big toe, but some of us stretch our toes so much, trying so hard that you get cramp in your foot. So relax the feet a little bit and maybe push through that heel or the ankle. Now, when we've done 8 on this side, we're going to bring it in and we're going to swap sides. So if we're working 2 legs in tabletop, it's going to look like this. One leg still, one leg moving. Okay, so I'm going to change that right leg, draw those hip bones together. We're breathing out and we're breathing in. Good. We're breathing out and we're breathing in. Lovely. Breathing out and breathing in. So again, we're going to do 8 of these. Lovely. So while we're doing this, let's take our awareness into our face, our shoulders. So as well as tightening that belt, we tend to really tense the shoulders and the arms, push the arms. So see if you can just let the arms and the shoulders melt down into that mat. And then we're going to just finish up. We're going to take these knees, bring them into the chest, and then we're going to see if we can absolutely straighten out. So just be careful of this. Don't let that back arch away from the mat. We're going to straighten out those legs, bring those arms, really draw that tummy button in and see if you can take a nice big stretch. So we're going to stretch out the hip flexors, stretch, like you're a piece of string being pulled in opposite directions. And then we're going to just bend the knees first, just support that back, bring those arms over. Lovely. Okay. I'm going to see if we can come over onto our sides. Okay. I've just rolled off the mat. So we're going to make sure these hips are stacked, but we're going to straighten out the legs. Now, what we want to make sure of, if you can see my mat, even if the feet are in front of my hips, it's not the end of the world. What we don't want is that happening, because that's automatically going to arch your back. So it's a bit like a banana. So make sure the heels are in line with that tailbone, or at least in front of the tailbone. We're going to see if we can use this arm, this forearm, to support the head, but you can put this towel here if you need it, a little bit more. We want that little orange between your chin and your chest, that nice long neck. Now, you may find you can balance like this. Okay, I can on one side, I can't on the other. But keeping the shoulder as relaxed away from the ear as you can use these fingers for balance. So we're just going to keep the knees facing forwards. We're going to take a single leg lift and down. So remember that flow. Now, some of you will feel comfortable floating that lower leg off the floor. Try not to arch the back. Draw that tummy button away from the waistband of the trousers. Imagine I'm trying to just slide something between your waist and the floor. And we're going to breathe out and in. If that's no good, bring that lower leg down. You can even bend that lower leg. Okay, so again, those of us who maybe have got potential injuries in this area, think about reducing the range. So working the muscle, but not pushing too hard. Okay, so each little, good. So, and when we're balanced, we're going to do again about 8 to 15 of these. And then we're going to see if we can, okay, with support or not, hold that position there. Good. Now, just come out of it and relax if you're not comfortable. We're going to see if we can bring this arm up, see if we can balance. Bring this arm down, slide that shoulder blade down. And if you're comfortable, we're going to see if we can just squeeze that lower leg up to meet the top leg. So we're working only 8 of these. We're going to work that inner thigh and we're working those core muscles. So we're squeezing up, controlling it down. Good. Squeezing it up and controlling it down. We're going to do one more of those if you can. And then I'm going to relax that leg down, relax that. Bend those knees. Good. Hope everyone's all right with that. Remember, you don't have to do anything. So what we're going to do now is take this arm away, put a little towel in its place. You don't have to if you don't want to. And those palms are facing each other. And we're going to do that open door. Okay, now remember, this is all about chest and shoulder flexibility. So we're breathing out, breathing in. So what we're trying to do is keep these hips stacked. So again, you can do anywhere between about 5 and 8 of these. Less about strength, more about mobility. I've suddenly got cramp in my foot. Cramp, because I was pushing those toes just to show you what I meant when I said push the toe. That's all right. So this is all about sort of stretch. Stretching the chest muscles, the front of the shoulders. And if you get sore neck, if you get sore shoulders, this may seem like nothing to do with that area, but it's such a valuable stretch to help ease the tension in the upper back and the neck. So when we've done our number of those, we're just going to bring it back down. We're going to see if we can push ourselves up to a seated position. So what we're going to do is, if we find it quite hard to sit up tall, we're going to sit on our towel, because quite often sitting up tall, we end up a bit like this, just because of tightness in this area more than anything. But just having a little bit of height, okay, can really help. So if you do struggle there, now you can take those legs straight if you want, or you can take the straddle. I'm going to have to go straddle, and we're going to really lift the chest, relax the shoulders. We're going to take our prayer position. Now, we're going to zip up. We're almost drawing from that pubic bone, pelvic floor, all the way up to the base of the ribs. And we're going to take our little twist, okay? We're going to come back to center and little twist. So keep going. I'm just going to turn so I'm facing you. All right, so we really want to, every time we come back to center, breathing in, I want us to think about relaxing, sliding those shoulder blades down the back. Good. Breathing into center. Lovely. And then we're just going to do a couple more. We're going to bring these legs in, and we're going to see if we can take the feet in the opposite direction. And again, we're going to take that nice long leg, straight leg, hips stacked. Okay. head resting on the arms. So we're doing those single leg lifts. So we're working these little muscles here. So again, just go easy with this one. So if we need a little bit of extra support because balance-wise we're struggling, we can just bend that lower leg, take that hand. The further away the hand is, the more balance you're going to get. Now we can make it more challenging by straightening out that supporting leg. We can float that lower leg. Good. And we're just gently flowing. Breathing out and in. Good. Out. So when we've done our 8 of those, we're going to hold that position, if we can, floating. Now draw that tummy button in. Imagine I'm trying to post something between your waist and the floor. You may find you can balance here. You may find you can balance here. Oh, I'm wobbling. I'm wobbling. Breathe out. Try and tighten those muscles that want to be tightened. Relax the shoulders. And then we're going to bring it down. You might need some support for this. Relax that shoulder. We're going to squeeze that lower leg up to meet the top leg. Now just come out of this one if you don't feel comfortable with it. Good. And we're just going to take a few more of those. So we just got a nice even number on each side. Breathing out and in. And then we're going to float that leg down. Float this one down. Bend the knees at a nice right angle. Give that a little bit of a rub. And then we'll come into that open door. So relaxing those shoulders. We're going to just open. So it's nice to be able to follow that hand with the head. So it's a little bit like the sun rising. And imagine you're just watching it rise, watching it set. But usually the hand will go a bit further than you can actually follow with your eyesight. So don't worry, just let that hand go as far as it wants to. Let that arm go as far as it wants to. And don't push the neck to follow it. Again, it's just nice and easy. Listening to your body. Listening to your breathing, tightening that belt, just reminding it just to keep supporting. And then just going to bring it back over. We're going to see if we can gently roll over. So we're going to straighten the legs out, come over into this prone position. And then we're going to push ourselves up into child's pose. Good. Just feel that lovely stretch. See if you can draw those shoulder blades down the back. And if we're comfortable now, that was our 47 minutes. Honestly, I said to you half an hour, but that was our level 1, if that makes sense. So if you're comfortable finishing up, I'm going to show you how to stand up. If you're comfortable carrying on, come into a prone position. Go back to swimming legs. I'm going to show our level 1s what we're going to do. So we're basically going to roll back up. We're going to tuck these toes under, tighten that belt, walk those hands towards the knees, and then we're going to see if we can bring those hands, straighten the legs only as much as you feel comfortable, tuck that tail under, and we're going to roll through that spine. Okay, all the way up to the standing position. So thank you very much. Level 2ers, we are going to see if we can do a little bit more work on our upper back. So using that towel if you need it, we're going to relax those shoulders. Okay, relax the shoulders. I'm having to tuck my toes under because I've given myself cramp. Relax the bottom. Okay, and find that neutral spine. Now we're going to see if we can ever so gently lift that breastbone without activating the lower back. So we're keeping the bottom jelly light, nice and relaxed. Relax the shoulders away from the ears. We're going to lift as if we were popping that pea underneath the nose, and then we're going to bring it back down. So imagine I'm trying to slide that bit of paper underneath your breastbone. Okay, holding that neutral spine. Now we're going to see if we can bring it up, and then we're going to see if we can lift those forearms, squeeze those shoulder blades together at the same time. Now, we're going to see if we can just roll that ball underneath each palm of the hand forwards, then all the way backwards, one at a time. Squeeze, roll that ball forwards. It's as if I put a tennis ball under each hand and we're just rolling forwards and backwards. Good. If it gets too much in this position, bring the head down. Just let that head rest on the mat. And we're just exploring that range, but each time really squeezing that elbow back down towards the bottom. Good. Now, if we can, we're going to do 3 together. We're going to breathe in. We're going to breathe out. Good. Try not to let that back arch as those hands go forwards. Good. Good. Don't let that back arch. Draw that tummy button up. Oh, let's take one more for luck, okay? And bring it down and relax. Good. So we're going to see if we can come up and really stretch out that upper back. So we're going to let that chin drop to the chest, push into the palms as we come into that cat stretch. And then we're going to come back and we're going to see if we can walk those hands forwards again, come down. And we're going to bring ourselves onto our backs. I'm sure I had a nice flowier way of doing that, but I obviously haven't. I know I missed out the seated bit. So what we're going to do is find our neutral spine again. Can you see me okay? I think so. Find your neutral spine again. And then we're going to tighten this belt. So we're going to go back to our single leg stretch. We're going to come into a double leg tabletop. So we need to be a little bit careful with this double leg away from the floor. Not only is it sort of because of the back, but sometimes some of us may, from this age onwards, experience some sort of prolapse type issues. So if we have any sort of issues like that, probably what we need to be doing is bringing one leg down, because we want to be making sure we're not putting too much what they call intra-abdominal pressure there. Okay, but as far as I'm aware, we're okay, this group. So we're just going to point these fingers up towards the ceiling. Now we're going to draw those shoulder blades down to the mat, and we're going to start with that single leg stretch, alternate legs. Okay, so we're breathing out. We're going to slow that movement back in. So you can go out as fast as you feel comfortable, but I want us to slow the movement back in. Now we're going to see if we can take same arm, same leg, really as if you had to really pull them through something that's a little bit of work, as if you were pulling that leg through wet sand, pulling that arm through wet sand. Breathing out, good. Keeping that really strong back, strong abdominals. Now we're going to see if we can take opposite hand, opposite leg. So you're slowing that movement down on the way back. Really controlling it. Good. And really, I'm having to do almost like Lamaze type breathing just to really control that movement in my back. We're going to do one more either side. Now, if you can, we're going to do both arm floating, but still single leg. Okay, so 2 arm, 2 leg, too much in this neutral spine position for that intra-abdominal pressure. Okay if the chest is lifted. Good. So if you do feel you want to do this chest lifted, that's fine. Good. Okay, we're going to do 2 more either side, and then we're going to relax. Okay, now in this position, before you have those knees in, we're going to just take a nice circle with those arms. We're going to do 3 of these, okay? Breathing out, breathing in, good, out, and on that final in, just hug those knees in. And if we want to take that rolling like a ball a little bit further, so we've got that little gap between the chin and the chest, shoulders relaxed, only as far as those shoulder blades. Good, now if we can, we're going to roll ourselves into a seated position, Beautiful. So find that nice long back. We're going to take, I still can't do the straddle. So I'm going to have to do this with bent knees.
Okay, and we're going to see if we can relax the shoulders, take those arms out. Now draw that tummy button in. Let's see if we can breathe out, and we're breathing in. Draw those shoulder blades down the back. Good. I am a bit limited in my movements here, so I'm actually going to change it. I'm going to breathe out. So if you want to do the same, just take the difficulty level down. We can just bring those arms into that ball position. We can straddle those legs. Good. And we're breathing out. Super, super. And then we're going to relax down. We're going to see if we can draw those legs together. It would help if you could see them. Okay, we're going to draw those legs together. And we're just going to see if we can take that lovely spine stretch, but we're going to bring in a little bit of hamstring as well. So again, slightly compromised. So I'm going to give you the start, but I'm lifting my chest over those thighs, over that imaginary beach ball, and then I'm rolling back up. Relax the shoulders. Now, if you want to take in that roll down, we're going to tilt that pelvis, and we're going to press each little segment to the spine down into the mat, and we're going to breathe in. Now, we are going to see if we can tighten that belt, push those fingers towards the toes, peel that spine away from the mat, add that spine stretch. So if we want a little bit more leg stretch, we can flex the feet, so draw those toes up to the ceiling. Lovely. Again, I'm not going too far there. Good. Tighten that belt. Tilt that pelvis. Roll through that spine. We're breathing in. Don't let that back arch. And as we breathe out, those hands can help us. Now, if we're struggling to get up, this is what we're going to do. We're going to bend both knees. We're going to take one knee. Now I'm going to push this leg down, and it's going to help peel that spine away from the mat. Good. Then we're going to straighten out those legs. Lovely. Okay. We're going to relax those arms down by our side. Superb, superb. So we are going to see if we can finish off just with a little bit of stretch, a little bit of hip mobility. So if you've got your band and you want to use it, great. You can do this without the band. For some reason, I'm off my mat totally. Just goes to show how soft and plush this carpet is. Right, now we're going to come down. Okay, I'm going to bend my knees. We are going to see if we can take these leg circles. So, now let's see if we can flex some points. So I'm going to relax my head down. It's actually off the mat. Let's see if I can come down a bit. Flex some point. And we're just going to get a nice bit of hamstring flexibility as we do this, nice bit of calf flexibility. Now, with that toe, knee, hip in line, let's see if we can take some single leg circles. Okay, and we're using this band to help us. So I'm making mine deliberately small because touch rugby in your 40s doesn't suit you. It doesn't suit me anyway. Now, I've got this knee here. I want you to imagine you've got a glass of champagne, finest champagne, so it's expensive. And this knee, we do not want you to spill the champagne as you're circling. So we're going to do 5 clockwise, 5 anti-clockwise. So when we've done that, you can also make it more challenging, but put your glass of champagne here. When we've done that, we are going to see if we can take the band in both hands, relax those shoulders, flex that foot. Now we're going to do a bit of flexibility for that inner thigh. We're going to open up that thigh, just helping control the movement with that resistance band. Now you can do this without the band, but just make sure it's controlled. We're going to relax. We're going to breathe in, come back up to center. Now, as we breathe out, we're going to let this leg gently fall across that body. So you're getting a stretch. You can almost feel it along the band on the outside of the thigh. So we're relaxing. You can take that arm out to support you. Don't force it, and try to keep certainly both shoulder blades in contact with the mat and as much of that lower back as you can. Good. And then we're going to come back to center. We're going to do the same on the other side. So we're starting
Knee bent or straight, but make sure you can maintain that neutral spine. Now I'm going to have to take that foot much further away, all right, but I'm still going to do the same move. So if you are limited in that range, just take that leg further away and we'll gradually increase that flexibility. Now, once we've done our flex and point, we're going to make those circles, okay? So I've got that little glass of wine, champagne on that knee, on that hip bone. We're going to do 5 circles one way, and then we're going to do 5 the other way. So imagine that spirit level across your hip bones. The idea being that this leg is circling without the body assisting it. Good, relax those shoulders. Now, when you've done 5 each way, again, we're going to flex that foot. You can take the opposite arm away from center just to even things out. We're going to open out these hips. Okay, really open out those hips. Good. Breathe out. And we're going to hold it for as long as you feel comfortable. It's not comfortable, but just as long as you can relax into it. You want at least 15 seconds really on stretches. A little bit more if you can. And if you can't hold it longer than that, it's not a bad idea to sort of come in and go out, come in, go out. You notice now I've moved that leg across the body. Good. So just feeling that stretch, breathing out. So the breathing out really helps you relax into these stretches. Good. Okay, so we're going to come back up to center. We're going to bend this knee, all right, and take that band away. So we're going to finish up. We're going to come over onto our front. We're going to do a little stretch for the hip flexors, and then we'll be done. So rolling over, onto the front. Sound like my dad. We're going to do this now. So in this kneeling position, remember we still want that lovely alignment with the neck. Let's see if we can walk these feet back towards the knees, take one foot up. We're going to slide that heel forwards, okay? So depending on how, what you've been doing, this can be easier, it can be more challenging. So at the moment, I've got my 2 hands, let's see if you can see it better, on the inside of that knee. Okay, can you see that? Got them there. If that's really challenging, it just helps open up the hips a little bit more, sort of in terms of that. If that's too much, just bring one hand either side and rest that chest on the knee. Okay, now we're going to see if we can just lift this chest. So we can take that hand onto the knee, lift that chest, make sure we push that tail down rather than arching that back. So we're getting this stretch here. And we're going to relax the shoulders, breathe out. Then we're going to breathe in, bring it back down, bring this foot back. Let's see if we can do the same on the other side. So it's sliding, placing, whatever's best for you. Okay. So again, I've got those 2 hands on the inside, even if it's just to start off with, seems to really help. Good. Now, we're going to breathe out, and then we're going to see if we can walk those hands onto that knee, lift that chest. Good. So we're getting that beautiful hip flexor stretch. And then we're going to bring it down, breathing out, breathing in. I'm going to bring us into child's pose, just to give those shoulders a nice little stretch. And then we're going to bring it in. Now we're going to tuck those toes under. We're going to see if we can walk those hands towards the knees, straighten through those legs, and then leaving that little knee bend if you need it, and not if you don't. We're going to come up to that standing position. So I'll just bring us back to that standing position. Hopefully you'll be able to see me. Doesn't matter too much. Now, let's stand like we did in that warm-up. Long spine, shoulders relaxed, tail hanging down. We're going to take that lovely breath in. And we're
to breathe out. We're going to see if we can take a breath in. We're going to lift that rib cage. We're going to breathe out. We're going to breathe in. And again, breath in. Shoulders relax, particularly that opposite shoulder. Breath out. And breathe in. And then we're just going to take a little roll of those shoulders. We're going to finish with a breath in, breath out. This time as we breathe in, we're really filling those lungs. Breathing in. Breathing in. And relaxing the shoulders. Relaxing those fingers. Giving those feet a little wiggle. Lovely, lovely. Okay, well done everybody. I know we normally have a chat at this point. That's the bit I miss actually. But hope you're okay. Hope everything was all right with that. If there's a problem, just get in touch, phone, email, however you prefer to get in touch, text. And yeah, we can have a look at it. Otherwise, thank you very much. So there'll be a session next week. It's actually going to be recorded next week because it's my son's birthday. So I'm going to do another recording for you while I gallivant playing board games. And yeah, but it's good. So there should be a few sessions for you to choose from then when we have a Christmas break. So well done all. Thank you very much. Speak to you soon. I think it's going.